Welcome to Hustle and Flow with Heather Hubbard, episode number 37. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard, and I was a litigator, partner, and practice group leader at an AmLaw 200 firm. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you embrace your ambition without selling your soul? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back. I am your host, Heather Hubbard. So it's been a while since I've recorded an episode. I know you guys get them every single week, but I tend to batch them. So this feels a little bit odd to be back in front of the microphone, but I'm excited to do it. And I have a lot of great content coming up for you in the future. Today we are talking about the magic of masterminds. Okay, for those of you that know me, you know that I'm obsessed with masterminds. And a lot of lawyers don't even know what they are. So I thought I would do an episode today for you to really go over what is a mastermind, who is it for, and how do you find one that's going to be a good fit for you. So I'm super excited to share this with you today. All right. Well, let's start with the very beginning. Let's start with the history of masterminds. They've been around for a while, and honestly, they've probably been around since the beginning of time. We just got the concept or the actual terminology of mastermind, and I believe about the 1920s or 30s. So Napoleon Hill, he did interviews with Andrew Carnegie or Carnegie. I don't know how you say it. I always said Carnegie Hall. But then I was watching these documentaries and they all called him Carnegie. So I have no idea how you actually pronounce it. Forgive me if I'm not saying it correctly, but I'm going to go with Carnegie. So Napoleon Hill, he interviewed Andrew Carnegie really to find out, what is it that makes you successful? What is the secret? And he not only interviewed Carnegie, he interviewed others as well that knew Carnegie. And in his book, Think or Grow Rich, he identified this mastermind concept that Carnegie had told him about. And that concept was that more minds are better than one. And Andrew Carnegie gave a lot of credit to his mastermind as the reason for his success. They met on a regular basis, and he said he never would have become the steel tycoon that he was, or one of the richest men in history, without the support of his mastermind. And so the concept is that if you take two minds and put them together, they actually create a stronger mind combined. And so if you add in a third mind, again, it becomes even stronger. So in his mind, 1 + 1 equaled 3 when it came to putting brilliant minds together. So here's the thing. Old rich white dudes have been doing this for a really long time, but it has now become really popular in the entrepreneurial and business worlds. So masterminds they became popular through Napoleon Hill's book when he described what Carnegie was doing with his mastermind. But in the last 10, 20, maybe even 30 years, masterminds have really become, again, popular with business folk. Now, we lawyers, we're generally behind the times. It takes a while for us to catch up with what the rest of the world is doing and certainly what businesses are doing. So, you may have never heard of a mastermind before, but it is certainly not new. It's not a new concept. It's not even a new word. But you may have never participated in one before, and they're super helpful. So that's why I want to tell you about them. Okay, so what exactly is a mastermind? Well, it's a group working together to help each individual. So they have a common purpose, and that common purpose relates to the goals of each individual. And they come together solely to help each other out. Now, that doesn't mean they're working on projects together. These are not joint ventures. They're not partners. They don't work in the same companies generally, but they're there to help each other out. And sometimes they might even be competitors. So there's no specific definition of a mastermind. For example, you don't have to have a certain number for it to become a mastermind. There isn't a certain structure that you have to follow. But I do think if you have talked to someone that's been in a mastermind that was really beneficial to them, you're going to find that they have very common traits. Now, there are a lot of people that say they do masterminds and they're really just, breakfast groups, or they just get together occasionally and they're not really pushing each other. So I want to walk through what I think you want to keep in mind for what constitutes a mastermind, or at least a good mastermind. There are two types of masterminds, and the first is informal and the second is formal. In an informal mastermind, you really just get a group together and you meet on a regular basis, again, for a common goal. With a formal mastermind, there is someone leading it, and that is generally an executive coach, and you apply to be in that mastermind and you pay to participate. So I have been in both, and I'm going to share a little bit about my experiences and just, my opinions, so that you can think about what would be beneficial for you. So I had always read about this concept because I think I've told you I read a lot of business books and I try to keep up with what the business world is doing. And I'd read a lot of articles and blogs and books about masterminds, and I wanted to participate in one. So I pulled together a group and we had an informal mastermind for about a year. And we started strong, and then it started to die. We just never met again. And I love those individuals. So it has nothing to do with them. It really had to do with maybe it was we didn't know what we were doing, but I've heard from a lot of others as well that it's really hard to have an effective or long-term mastermind if it's informal. That said, you can absolutely do it. And if you want to put one together, I encourage you to make it the best you can, because you may have a great experience from it. So the key is you want to find the right group of people. Size matters. The larger the mastermind, if you're not doing it with someone that's been doing them for a while and really knows how to make everyone come together, you want it to be rather small. At the same time, if people occasionally are going to have to miss, you want to make sure there's enough people there to contribute. So I personally think that 6 is a good number for a mastermind if you're starting out. The very first group that I worked with, when we put together our informal mastermind, there were just 4 of us, and we probably needed a few more, although our first few sessions would last 2 and 3 hours. So we'll go back to that. But you want to get a good number to start with. So if you're going to start the mastermind yourself, as opposed to join one, and if you've never heard of one, you're probably going to have to start one. 6 is a good number to start with. If you like that, you might then want to grow it to 8, but I would keep it pretty small initially. You also want to make sure that everyone can bring something to the table. So this is not really the time where you choose younger people to come in and mentor. They could be younger, but they need to be able to have resources and talents and opinions that you're going to value. So this is not just, a top-down approach where people are just learning. You want givers in the group. Everyone should be contributing. Now, it's always a great idea, though, if you want to invite someone to the group that has a lot to offer, that's great. But you need to make sure there's more than one, because if there's just one, they're going to start to feel like, they're the one giving everything and they would like a little something in return. So you want to make sure that the group is pretty equally successful. Now, again, it could be in totally different ways and in totally different industries, but you want to make sure that every single person in the group has something valuable to offer. And not only do they have something valuable to offer, but they will offer it. This is not the kind of group where you come in just to receive. If you are just there to learn from others and you don't ever want to contribute, that is not going to be a successful mastermind, and it's going to end really soon. So when you're thinking about who you would put in your mastermind, again, you want to think of people that are on equal footing, and you want to think of people who are going to freely give their opinions and advice and show up with their own questions and projects so that everyone can learn. All right? You also want to go ahead and get everyone to agree to some kind of structure and schedule. If you just try to put it together every month or every other month, it's not going to work. Now, I know some masterminds that meet every single week, but I don't have the time to do that. And I know you're busy as well. So once a month is pretty good, I think. I've been in them where we meet every other week, and that's fine too, but it's hard. I will say the one I'm in now, we do have weekly what are called office hours, and I can't attend every single one of them. And they're not always as juicy or good because we have the opportunity to show up each and every week. So you want to have some kind of schedule. And again, you want structure. Someone needs to be the leader, and the leader needs to be in charge of coming up with how the group is going to work, whether or not you're going to have a strict time limit where once the hour is up, it's up. Or maybe you meet for a few different hours, but you need to go ahead and set those expectations on the front end so that people know the time commitment that they're going to need to put in. Again, we're all busy, so giving people the heads up of what to expect will help you make sure that they show up every single time. You also want to make sure that someone is, again, almost coaching or mentoring, but more than anything, serving as the leader. So most masterminds have what are called hot seats. And that's where one person gets to share whatever issue they want to. It could be something going on at work. Maybe it's like a political issue. They don't really know how to navigate a certain sensitive topic or situation. It could be personal. It can be in your home life because that shows up too. You know, I think it's really important that we start integrating everything and we don't compartmentalize our lives. So being able to show up and say, you know, I'm having a hard time at work because I've got this personal issue going on and I just kind of want to share it. Does anyone have thoughts? But you have this hot seat. You get a set amount of time to share what you're struggling with, what you would like some feedback on, and then the rest of the group gets to brainstorm for you. You just listen, you take notes, and it can really help you have breakthroughs. Sometimes people might have ideas or connections or resources, or can give you a pep talk, or give you a little tough love and let you know if they think maybe an idea is not so great or you're not really approaching the relationship from the right way. So being able to receive that feedback is super important as well. You don't want people in your mastermind that know everything and refuse to accept feedback. So those are the keys to starting an informal mastermind. If you want to join a formal mastermind, again, that is probably going to require you to apply and pay. So I lead masterminds now, and I'll share a little bit about that later. But the reason you apply is when coaches are putting these together, they want to make sure that they have the right group, the right fit. And two people may be amazing, but they're not going to be a good fit together. And for that reason, you really have to put the right group together and you don't just let people sign up. So here are my experiences. I already shared the informal one, which didn't go too well. Again, we actually all had something to offer. We were all givers. Our problem was we did not have a commitment to a schedule and we didn't have a lead or a mentor. We were all just kind of showing up and it just didn't work the way we had hoped that it would. So then I decided I'm going to pay to be in a mastermind. Now, when I first started my company, I've always made a lot of investments in my company, but I just didn't feel like I could afford to be in a mastermind. So last fall, I knew that I wanted to really make sure that I was taking my business to the next level. So I'd worked with coaches, I had been doing some business retreats, but I had not been in a true high-level mastermind. And so I started with a 6-month mastermind, and we met in person twice. There were 10 entrepreneurs from across the country, and I paid $10,000 to be in that mastermind. I struggled with whether or not to tell you guys the prices of the masterminds I've participated in, simply because, one, I realize it could be shocking, and two, you might make assumptions that aren't true. But I genuinely believed that if I invested in this mastermind, that it would really help my career, and I would get amazing ROI, return on investment, for those of you that don't know that. It really exceeded my expectations. So from that mastermind experience, one, you're listening to this podcast. I was not even going to release it until June or July. And the group really encouraged me to go ahead and get it out there. And they, some of them had their own podcasts. So they were able to tell me what equipment to buy. They were able to put me in contact with an amazing audio engineer. I was able to get an assistant that was already familiar with how to do podcasts. They gave me everything I needed to know. So I didn't have to go figure out any of it on my own. I didn't have to go do research. They literally handed it to me in my lap and said, it was coming from all of them. And they were like, go do it already. And so I was able to get a podcast completely up and running in about 2.5 weeks, which is crazy. So that in and of itself would have been, just a great value, but it was much, much more than that. In addition to going ahead and getting the podcast out there, they were able to give me feedback on my services, my products, my offerings, my price points, and giving me new ideas on how to approach things. They looked at my website for me. They looked at copy for me. They gave me feedback on my branding. There was so much going on during that time. And during that 6 months, I increased I did in 6 months more than I had done in the entire year before. And I definitely attribute that to being in that mastermind. It was really what helped launch my business to the next level. So when that mastermind was then up, I was looking for what my next mastermind would be. And turns out a mastermind I was interested in, it was going to run from July until June. And the one I had just finished, it ended in June. So the timing was perfect. And this time I invested $25,000. That doesn't even include the travel. $25,000. That was really scary for me. Really, really scary for me. And honestly, I didn't just have the cash sitting around. I borrowed money in order to participate in that mastermind because I already knew how beneficial another high-level mastermind would be for me. And I've just been in that one for a few months, but it is already paying off big time because, again, it's just pushing me in ways that I couldn't push myself, and I get access to so many great ideas and so many resources that I would have not otherwise had. So that's really the beauty behind a paid mastermind. You have an actual coach that knows what they're doing. And again, because people apply, you get a really amazing group of people, often from across the country, that makes it just even more valuable. I also find that when I invest my own money, and a lot of it, in whether it's coaching or a program or a mastermind, I show up more. I mean, I want to get my money's worth, so I make every single minute count. I'm not going to just be halfway doing it, So there is something to be said about the paid mastermind just in terms of it makes you show up in a way that you probably wouldn't otherwise if you were just doing it informally. Okay, so how do you find a mastermind? Hopefully by now you're like, that sounds awesome. I want in my own mastermind. And you should. They're so helpful. So one is you can create your own. As I already said, you can totally start an informal mastermind. I would encourage you to look to other industries. You don't all have to be lawyers, although you can. I would encourage you to maybe look at doing it all in your town where you can show up together in person every single time, or pulling together colleagues from around the country. So for example, even if you're in-house, you probably know in-house attorneys across the country. You can look to your law school. Maybe there's some people from law school that you want to reconnect with. There are a lot of ways to do that. And the masterminds I participate in and the ones I lead, we'll do occasionally some in-person ones, but for the most part, we just meet by video conference. And I personally love Zoom, ZOOM.us. And I think it costs maybe $16 a month. And you can do video conferencing from your laptop. You don't need any special equipment. So that works really well. Everybody can see each other's faces. So yeah, go create your own if you just want to try it out and see what it's like. Maybe just say it's going to be 6 months. But you want a group of people that are high achievers and that get excited about this concept. So just go create your own. The other is you can apply to be in a paid mastermind. I will tell you about mine in a second. I'm happy for you to apply to be in mine. I'm certain that there are other masterminds in the legal industry. I don't know of them, so I can't recommend them to you, but you could look for them in the business world. So if you're thinking you would like a mastermind where you are not with other attorneys, you are just with other, entrepreneurs or business owners or business leaders. And here's the thing, if you're an attorney and you're in a law firm, even if you are in one of the largest law firms in the United States, you are an entrepreneur. If you were trying to build a book of business, you are an entrepreneur. So just FYI, just start asking around. I mean, one, you could always Google it, right? Like that's the go-to. You can always Google masterminds, see what comes up. You can look for executive coaches and see if they have masterminds. And then again, just ask your business friends, ask your entrepreneur friends, are they in masterminds? Do they know of any masterminds that they would recommend? Just keep in mind that not all business masterminds are going to be eager to bring in an attorney if they think you're going to try to sell your services. Okay. So a mastermind, while it is an amazing way to get contacts, that should not be the reason you're in the mastermind. Because everyone will be able to smell that from a mile away. They're not going to trust you. They're not going to like you. That is not the purpose of a mastermind. So just make sure that if you want to be in a business one, that you make sure that it's super clear. You are there to bring, things to the table to help them, and you're not there to sell your services. And then briefly, I'd love to share with you the masterminds that I run. I have 2 different kinds of masterminds, and I'm thinking about doing a third, so I'll just walk through them for you. So the first one that I do, it's an individual mastermind, and I say individual because it means I bring together a group of individuals that don't otherwise know each other. They're from across the country. That mastermind is limited to women, and you need to be at a certain level in your career. So generally at least 7 years, or if you are an owner of a law firm, a partner of a law firm, a GC, an associate GC, and you're younger, that's okay too. But these are advanced conversations. And again, it just goes back to the concept of, there doesn't need to be a ton of mentoring where there's a big gap. So that mastermind that I lead, it's just for more tenured attorneys, or again, you're really business focused. So I am doing 6 people this year. I am expanding that to 8 next year. And again, it's from all over the country. This year, let's see, we've got California, Ohio, DC, Tennessee, can't think of the others, Missouri. So, it's a really good, diverse group. And next year, for the 2018 Mastermind, 4 of those spots are already filled. 2 other offers have been made, but they're coming from California, a few from California, Vegas, another one from Tennessee. So it's a great group. We meet in person in January. for the 2018 one. We're meeting in Fort Lauderdale. We already have the house booked. It is awesome. We're going to go spend some time there together as a group to get to know each other and really start working on our vision and goals for 2018. And then we have an agenda for the rest of the year. Now, the agenda, it's really more of a schedule than anything. And that means that some months, we have a few different hours together. So I do group coaching every single month where we do the hot seats. And then I also do individual coaching. It's the only way to get ongoing individual coaching with me. You have to be in my mastermind. And some months we spend several hours because I really want to work on your strategy. And then other months we might do 30 minutes, but it's kind of set in stone at the beginning. We're meeting again in September, probably somewhere out west. We're looking at Park City, Salt Lake City, Denver, and some places in California as well. So super excited about that. You do have to apply to be in it. There are just a few spots left. But if you are a female attorney with at least 7 years experience, or you are an owner, or you're higher up in a company, I would love to have you apply. Applications are being accepted through the end of the month, and I make offers on a rolling basis, so you want to get it in sooner rather than later. And the one that I may do, I want to go ahead and mention this, the one that I may add is a co-ed mastermind. So I've had several men ask if they can participate. If there are enough men that are interested and enough women that are interested in a co-ed concept, we might test that out in 2018, probably to start with maybe just 3 to 6 months, probably 6 months. But if you're interested, if you're a guy and you're listening and you're interested in the concept, you can email me and just let me know that, because I'm not going to move forward if there's not enough interest. But if there is, just shoot me an email and let me know. If you don't know my email, it's heather@heatherjoyhubbard.com. All right. The other mastermind is a law firm mastermind. So for really large law firms, I come in and do masterminds. They're often diversity masterminds. And that means I work with the diversity committee, the council, or the women's initiative to come up with a group of women or, again, underrepresented partners that are really wanting to be successful in the firm. But we know statistically they're likely not going to be as successful as we hope for them to be. So the idea is to give them a leg up and to give them the opportunity to really work together in a way that they can all rely upon each other's resources and networks. And then we do a lot of advanced business development strategy and planning. And those last 9 to 12 months. Again, because it's within the firm, it's really important to make sure that you have the right group together. And so we still follow that same application and interview process to make sure that, one, we have a great group that can work together, but two, it's to really weed out the unconscious bias and the politics that sometimes, come into play when law firm programs are put together and certain people want their people in. So we follow that same process. And then we work together to, again, just really help each other succeed. And I love doing those. We generally do 1 to 2 in-persons for those as well. And I like to bring in people from different offices, different backgrounds, different practice groups. The goal for me is to keep those 6 to 10 people. And again, it's more about the group dynamics than anything. It's just bringing together a group that I believe can really support each other in a way that they maybe have not experienced before. And the results are always great. It tends to help with overall satisfaction. And, firms invest so much money in partners. And then when you become a partner, the rules change, and that's when you lose so many women and minorities. And this is a program that I have developed to try to combat that. And I think it's working. The results to date have been really promising. So those are my masterminds, but hey, I'm not for everyone. You may not be interested in one of my masterminds, and that's totally okay. I just want you to understand the concept of a mastermind and how helpful they can be to you in your career. So if you've not considered one before, if you've never even heard of one before, I hope that you are at least now interested and are looking to find out more. So if you are interested in applying for my individual mastermind, again, applications are open through the end of the month, October 31st, although I will be making offers on a rolling basis. So I think I've got probably 3 to 4 spots left in that one, and you can apply. We'll put that in the show notes. There will be a link in the show notes, but you can also go to my website, heatherjoyhubbard.com, and there's a mastermind page with the application on there as well. If you are at a large law firm and you are interested in the diversity mastermind concept, I only have 3 more available for 2018. And if you want to hear more, you can just email me. Again, heather@heatherjoyhubbard.com. You could submit a request through the contact form on my website, and I'm happy to discuss what that looks like, get you some materials, and then based on your goals and what you're looking for in your budget, we can get a proposal together. All right. That was so much fun. I'm so glad to be behind the microphone again. It was great connecting with you, and I look forward to speaking with you next week. For show notes, downloads, and other free resources, and to keep the conversation going, head on over to hustleandflowpodcast.com. See you there.